Hey guys, welcome to the Q&A 2017. This is actually the first Q&A I've ever done, so we'll see how it goes. Thank you to everyone that sent in questions. I got an insane amount of questions, so yeah, let's get started. First question. How old are you? I'm 30 years old. I turned 30 back in October, so I'm getting on now, halfway to 60. Why am I such an asshole? Genetics? What country are you from? Well, I'm from the UK. I was born in Portsmouth, which is a little town way down south. And then when I was 5, I moved to a place called Hull, where I lived till about 3 years ago. Now I live in Leeds. So yeah, I'm from the UK. Okay, let's see if I can get this one. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? 7. Right, so this is one of these questions that I got asked by a lot of people, and basically I'm just going to pick one specific one that elaborates the most and kind of go with that one. So here we go. How did you start your comics? I've been drawing a couple and was wondering where you mainly started before Lemon Sandwich. So with comics, I usually draw like a lot of detail pieces. I'm really obsessed with drawing like tiny intricate things that people are not even gonna see. And with like comics, it was more of a because I put a lot of time into my normal artwork. I wanted to do something that was quite just fun and quick, so I started doing these random doodles. And then as I was doing them, I was kind of like, I kind of enjoyed this. I should make it into something more, and I used to do little bits and bobs in my own time. And then eventually I went on to more, and then I thought, you know what, I'll just turn this into an actual comic. And that's essentially how I got into that kind of area. But it was a weird path to get there. But essentially, yeah, it was just making something that was a lot more simpler than what I did with my artwork. So I'd say just do what you feel is right with it. That's where I started. Everyone has their own reasons why they get into it and why they started there. And that kind of got me there. Also, on the same kind of subject, someone else asked what inspired me to start it, and essentially, like inspiration-wise, comic-wise, Cyanide Happiness was a big player in that kind of area, but also Joan Canella, Joan. I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but he was a big inspiration to me too. It was just his summary and his expressions just, it expresses so much, and it's always really funny. So that kind of goes. And Krista Simpson's artist, of course, just his ridiculousness. So yeah. What does your hair look like under your hat? I guess I could show you. What do you do alongside your comics? I'm wondering how I can manage time with my own job since I work 7 days a week. So I used to work in. I worked in a fair few things. Originally when I started doing art, I started in retail. I was with Asda for like 7.5 years. I did that throughout college, university, before I even knew what I wanted to do. But it was one of those things that I was doing when that turning point happened. And essentially, I always just I just forced myself to do art in my own time. And it just, it can be tiring. One of my benefits is I've always been kind of a night person, so I have no problem staying up really late, and then feeling really shit in the morning when I had to go up for a shift. Essentially, yeah, I say just make time to do stuff. I know it can be really hard. Another option is, say for example you're on your break, just take a frigging notepad with you, or like anything you can just jot in and just do it. And then, because if you want to start doing comics or like anything arty, people don't really tend to care too much what you draw it on. It's the art itself that's always like really impressive. The fact that you can draw like a huge, you could just draw a realism picture on some lined paper with a pencil. People still find it impressive. It's just another medium. So essentially, just do it like do it whilst you're on your tea break or something at work. If it's, if you really don't have enough time to do it anywhere else, it can actually be relaxing, and obviously because you're working, it just takes you away, so it might actually be more beneficial for you. The way I always did it, as I said, I just made time for it, and over time, because I went from like retail, and then I went to the bar work, and what was the bar work's kind of handy for me because I used to do nights there, and then I'd go home and then do a bit, or I'd do a bit before I come to work, because I was working till like sometimes like 4 or 6 in the morning, so it's always a trade-off. It depends what profession you're working as well, but essentially I ran my own business, so I was like self-employed I've been self-employed for about about 4.5 years I want to say now, and essentially as over time I managed to get more work from that, I cut back my hours in other areas, and then I was able to do more. So essentially, if it's something that you really want to do, just make time for it and just try your best. It can be tiring, but it's going to pay off in the long run. What is your favourite meal? I want to take you for lunch. Well, I know I'm probably going to be judged for this since it's not meant to be amazing in terms of standard, but ramen from Wagamama's, like specifically spicy ramen, unbelievably nice. My friend Sophie introduced me to it a while back, and yeah, essentially converted me into a Wagadada. And if you take me for lunch, you're paying. What else would you like to create and achieve? So essentially, animation is one big next step. The whole like way I want to go is, if I do start doing like animation, it's going to be, I will do some lemon sandwich based character ones, but I also want to do individual things as well. I don't want to lock it down to one specific style. I want to kind of experiment and have fun with that. So it's not going to just be one medium, whereas the comics will always be the lemon sandwich comics. So if I do, you will get shorts very similar to maybe like how Cyanide and Happiness do it. I do want to do stuff like that, and I want to animate some of the comics that I've already done. But I also want to do other things on the side, just for complete clarity on everything. But I want to kind of go down that route. One of my biggest things that I really want to achieve is an animated series, and I've been writing one for a while now. One of my friends, Matt, who basically I've known for quite a long time, he's helping me write the series. We've actually got a fair bit down in terms of like a structure, and I want to approach it on a much bigger scale, but it's something that I'm going to have to do down the line when I know that I've got enough support to do it, because whilst I'm running my own business as well as doing this, I don't have the full freedom to kind of animate myself. Like the only other option is to put lots of money into it, so and then get a studio to make it. So it's all up in the air in terms of the main series at the moment. But that's what I really want to achieve. I really want to be a voice actor down the line. I've been doing it for a fair bit of while. I've done a few bits and bobs on the internet, but I want to do something on a bigger scale, and I'm obsessed with writing. So yeah, essentially I'd love to go, that's what else I'd like to kind of create and achieve. I'd also like to start a podcast. I've got a couple of friends that I really want to start with. Got an idea and a rough kind of point, so you might see that in the coming year as well. Lots of bits and bobs really, but yeah, I'd mainly the biggest thing that I'd want to create and achieve is an animated series. Why do your characters have no clothes? Why not? How did you end up with your character design? So basically there's this whole potato peanut thing where you draw like figures with potatoes or peanuts. Essentially it's meant to help, gain just accurate composition, because you can judge things like, this is this much of a potato, this is this much of a potato, and then you build it up. It's a weird method, but I took the idea a bit literally, and I just started drawing potatoes randomly, and the head was actually originally a body, just a really weird shape, and that's why I started, and I thought, I'll go with that. And then essentially as it like developed, I mean, if you look at my early drawings, they're really weird. I'll put some up around here floating around, whoa, and essentially they that's kind of where it came from. I just created a potato as a body, turned into a head, and then as my style kind of developed over time, I wanted to clean it up and make it a little bit better than the original days. And essentially, yeah, it just came to be through potatoes. That's why I often refer to them as the potato men, because they look like potatoes, but they also look a bit phallic, as many people point out. Yeah, I mean, not intentional, but I mean, yeah. Do you work alone? I do indeed. However, I have done one comic with my mate Matt Heaney. He's the one that's co-writing this animated series with me. Essentially, he had a comic idea a while back and he pitched it to me, I think about 6 months ago. And essentially I found it really funny, so I made it. It fit the Lemon Sandwich universe and style, so I thought, yeah, why not? So I designed his like comic up, put it together, and it did pretty well at the time. This is back before the boom as well, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, essentially that's the only time I've ever done that. I've done a collab as well. I wouldn't classify it as one of my normal comics, but it was with a guy called Tally the Short. I can't really show it on here due to YouTube censorship, but I recommend you go check him out. He's a sorted individual. I'll add a link in the description below if you want to go check him out. Can I borrow £50? No. Can you answer this? No. Is a lemon sandwich tasty? Ooh. No. I'll just summarise this question a little. What is your worst and your best educational experience? So my worst would be university. I did video games design, and we found a lot of the teachers didn't know what they were doing. They seemed more lost than the people that they were teaching. So it wasn't a really good experience. I made some really good friends through university, but I'd say it's probably my worst experience, and if I could go back, I probably wouldn't do it, but, I wouldn't have met the people that I've met without going, so it's always a trade-off, I guess. Best education experience, without a doubt, was back in college. I went to a place called Wilberforce College. I did media studies, video production, and film studies, and when I was there, we had a teacher called, we had a teacher called Ian. Absolutely amazing teacher, always made every lesson fun, kind of crazy, but in a good way. He would always have time for everyone, without doubt. He had industry experience and stuff, and he was a phenomenal teacher. He actually cared about what he taught you, and I feel like he brought passion out of me more than any other teacher, whereas, I've still had good teachers, but he just had something that made you want to be creative and proactive and do something different. And even to this day, I still thank him. He was one of the best teachers I've ever had. So that's definitely my best educational experience. Would you smash Cardi B? Who's Cardi B? Nah. Would you ever consider animation or working with any other animators? I could see you working with the animators behind Hellbenders, Chris O'Neill and Zach Hadel. I mean, that would be insane. I'd absolutely love to work with Chris and Zach. I can't see it happening though, just because two separate worlds apart, and I don't know, like, yeah, but I mean, I'd love to. But as for the actual animation itself, yes, as I said briefly earlier, I'm going to go into animation is one of the next steps I want to do. I'm not doing specifically just lemon sandwich character animation. It's going to be other things as well. Though, as briefly mentioned, I'm still going to do lemon sandwich shorts and make little bits and bobs, but I want to try other things as well. I actually have a series called Ruggedly Handsome Man that I want to work on, as well as my main big series that I'm writing with my friend Matt Heaney. But essentially, yeah, Ruggedly Handsome Man's going to be... They're going to be like little short animations that are going to come up. It's like, best way to explain it is it's kind of like an anime / Charlie the Unicorn. It's weird, but it's quite yeah. You'll see when it's up. Hopefully I can put up an example at some point. But as well as this, I'm actually already working on a little animation thing for like one of my friends, which you'll see this coming year. It's just a little silly thing that he's been working on, but it's gonna be an interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Just yeah. So but yeah, I'd love to do more animation. It's just getting the time. It's yeah, very very time consuming. I tend to do my stuff frame by frame as well, rather than tweening. So it takes the process is a bit longer than usual, but yeah, we'll see. Just another continuation on that last question. If you ever decide to do animations, can I do voice acting for you? So down the line, I'll no doubt need extra voices. I'll definitely check back with anyone that's interested. It's always worthwhile to send me voice reels, of any voice acting that you've done, or like, an example. Send me examples of what you've done, and yeah, or if you haven't done anything, send me what you can do. I know sometimes people practice and don't do anything for anyone else because they like to stay to themselves until they get to a certain level. So I mean, send it through. If you feel confident with your voice and what you can do, send it through, and I'll keep you in mind. Have you ever considered starting a Jellyfish exclusive comic series to spice your collection up? How long is your slong? Right, this is one of these questions that got asked a couple of times. Essentially, I'll go with the most elaborate one. Lemon Sandwich. Why did you choose that name? So the name, it's like bittersweet. The whole idea was it's meant to be enjoyable. The content's meant to be enjoyable, but it's also got a bit of a bite to it. A lot of my stuff tends to be quite dark, so it was kind of meant to be representative of it. But overall, it's meant to be just strange sounding, and it just brings attention to the name. It just sounds right. Don't know if that makes sense, but essentially that's why it's called Lemon Sandwich. What's the best thing that happened to you in 2017? Honestly, my comics booming. Like I'd have no idea that they'd have gone as well as they did. I just had a point where I was below like 10,000, and then within the space of like 2 months, it went up like almost double, which I just didn't expect it to happen. I'm really happy about it. It's really, I mean, not only is it like it is a confidence boost overall. It's something that you put out there that's done really well. Like with my artwork, like it's always done like well in its own extent, but it's always been to quite a small audience, and I've never had this many people looking in at what I do and like enjoying my content. It generally means a lot to me that you're enjoying what I'm put out there. I know like not everything that I'm going to do is going to hit grounds with everyone. Like comedy and comedy's comedy. Like not everyone gets the same sense of humor, which is fair enough. I always do what I feel is, right. If I chuckle at it, then I'll put it out. So I'm so like that. Generally, the best thing that's happened to me this year is my comics just booming. Thank you, thanks everyone so much. Like it really, really meant a lot to me. So thank you. Are we real or are we unreal? Now that's the real question. Real because our own perception is this reality, whether it's an overall reality or whether it's something... real because our perception... How many sour gummy worms can you fit in your mouth at one time? Sadly, there were no sour gummy worms when I went out earlier. However, I did manage to get hold of some Tangtastics, so let's give it a whirl. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so final question. How do we go about forgetting the knowledge we've just learnt about you? Play the video backwards. Okay guys, thank you so much for tuning in. That's the Q&A done for 2017. Hope I answered everyone's questions to a good enough extent. It's my first Q&A, so yeah, but thank you so much. Have a good new year and I'll see you in 2018.